Hey everybody, welcome back. It is the Rasball Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I am Beadon, joined by the one, the only, the Fantasy Master Lothario himself, Gray Albright. How's it going over there, Gray?
Good, man. I went to I had to go to urgent care today. I was feeling a little under the weather, and I wasn't sure if it was a cold or allergies or what. So I go in there, and they're like, "Hey, it's good to see you again." I'm like, am I here too much?" I don't want to be. I don't want to be a guy who walks into urgent care. It's like, "Hey, man, I haven't seen you in a couple days."
See, you got to mix it up, Gray. You got to go to different urgent cares. Okay, that way it's not the same. Them like thinking you're a hypochondriac. They're actually listening to you. What they say? What are you sick? Are you toughing it out for us?
No, man. I'm Cal Ripken Jr. of fantasy baseball, baby. I'm toughing it out. I'll never forget though. Like seriously, I think it was the trading deadline of 2021, I want to say, and I had COVID so bad. I was like knocked for a loop, and it was like the busiest day. There was like so many moves, and I was like, I could barely see straight. But yeah, no, I'm fine. I have the urgent care guy said I have allergies and prescribed Flonase. Hey, little not sponsored, could be sponsored. Okay.
Accepting all sponsors, quite honestly. Don't even have to like your product. Don't really care as long as you want to sponsor us. Good on that. Gray. I mean, I'm surprised that you didn't make a move and finally call up my replacement, given that we're outside of the 45-day window now. I mean, there's no service time buildup. You don't have to pay for that extra year. You would have been all set. I mean, it was the perfect time. But here I am, Gray. I'm still here, the old grizzled veteran. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that the day passes. And
Cougs and we went to see Weapons at the movies this weekend, and there's a guy in there. I was like, there is a principal. I think it was the principal of the school, and I whispered to Cougs. I was like, "Hey, look, it's B-Don." I could, and she's like, "No, it's not. Every Korean guy is not B-Don." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's fair." But if that guy happens to be a listener of the Rasball podcast, we'd love to have you on. Just maybe could potentially take over someday. I don't know.
Yeah, if you're watching Weapons in LA somewhere this weekend, yeah, just in your Korean, hit up Gray. He just wants to really drive home that Korean demographic. So
we
can't sacrifice our spot.
I mean, according to the analytics, we are a top 5 podcast in South Korea. Just saying.
Of fantasy baseball. U.S. fantasy baseball, not Korean fantasy baseball.
Not a top 5 podcast of anything that people actually listen to podcasts about in Korea.
No, it's probably just like 3 listens, and you cost us like 1 every time you talk about Koreans. So we're probably down to 1 now, Gray. Our numbers are really slipping. I'm gonna have to start listening more. I don't know. I mean, I'm not in Korea. So I'm going to have to VPN over into Korea and make that happen.
I actually have a cousin in South Korea right now. He's teaching over there. Anyway, with the call up. So here's my yearly rant. If you want to call it, actually, by calling it a rant, it feels like it demeans what I have to say about it, because what I have to say is truth, reality. So it's like when I say it's a rant, it's like, oh, that means it doesn't really, that's just you being fiddly and mean about something that other people shouldn't really get upset about. It's like, no, that's not true. This is a rant that actually everyone should be mad about. So MLB allows teams to suppress their minor leaguers in the minor leagues for no reason, even if they're so much better than the actual major leaguers on the team. And it's all in service of keeping down their salaries, which is such absolute garbage. I mean, the Orioles, for instance, they sold their team away from the Angelos family, finally, and then you get a guy who's got $5+ billion to his name, and he's over here not promoting his rookie call-ups so they can have them for an extra year and suppress their salary. Come on, man. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, everyone should be outraged over this, yet I really see very little mentioned about it. Like, no one really, maybe I am the only one mad about this. But you know what? I'll be the only one mad about it, because like, it really is such garbage. Like, there's no other sports. Like, you don't have other sports where it's like, you know what? Let's keep him in the minor leagues for another year, so this way we don't have to pay him. Like, no, you chose him in the first round. You chose him in the top 10 overall. You don't send him to the minor leagues for 4 years just so you can retain his service time. It's like crazy. Like, these guys that were called up that we're about to talk to, the guys on the Orioles especially, like, they were a team that was out of it, which is, a lot of people would say, well, they were out of it, so why bring up a rookie and start his service time? But it's like, why not? You're not paying for, like, who cares? Let them pay for the guy. Let him get, like, you have a team that is going nowhere all year. The guys that the Orioles brought up, they could have been called up in May and had actual at-bats in the major league level and got them ready for next year. Now you're going to have guys who are going to be, in the first month of next year, are going to have to learn about like the major leagues because they weren't given that opportunity this year. So you're going to have guys who potentially could struggle next year when they could have struggled this year. You could have got the struggles out of the way. Instead, you're going to bring guys up at the last possible moment when it's just like, when it's a time that's most fitting for the team and not best for the player, which is just it's just garbage, man. It's really just, it's obnoxious. I don't like it. Anyway.
Yep, I don't like it either. I will just, you said everything I needed to be said. I will add on one thing, which is they already get 6 years, Greg. Like, with no manipulation, you get 6 years. Like, why do you need to manipulate service time when you're already getting 6 years of this player? Unless they were a very good prospect and moved fast through your organization, like, they're going to be 30 by the time they hit free agency. You don't want to sign them anyways. So, like, just bring them up and let them help your team sell more tickets. I mean, that's what Baltimore is doing now with Beavers and Basallo, and they know they deserve to be up already, and now they finally are. But it's too little, too late. They could have helped earlier. It is what it is. It's unfortunate. At least they sold the team there in New York. I mean, it could be worse. You could be Minnesota. You think you're getting new owners, and they're like, nah, never mind. We're good. We're not actually selling. It's our team. And then you're just screwed again, which is really fun this week, too, for Minnesota fans, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, no, you're dead on, man, because it's like look at, I think Shane Bieber, like, he just turned 30. And he's gotten and he just had Tommy John surgery. He's coming back on Friday. So that's why he was in my mind, why I was thinking about him. But he's had one decent contract and he's 30 years old. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, guys are already like out of their prime by the time they get around to actually getting a decent contract. Like, how many, Alex Bregman just signed with the Red Sox, like a 1-year deal or whatever, or 2 years, but he has an option or whatever. And it's like, how old is he? Like, these guys are not young. By the time they actually get around to getting a decent contract, like, it's just ridiculous, man. I mean, it's just nonsense. Like, you have guys who are basically are the best they're going to be in their 20s for the most part. There's obviously outliers, but most players are the best they're going to be in their 20s, but they don't get paid until their 30s. Like, what? It's ridiculous, man. It's really dumb. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, heaven forbid you're Dallas Garcia and you don't break out till you're 28. I mean, you're not going to get a new contract. You better hope you get good arbitration hearings. Like,
yeah,
that's what it comes down to for guys like that. But let's move on to more happy news, Gray. Let's talk about the actual call up, since that's good for them to at least get to have a couple of months of major league time, see what's going on, live in much better accommodations, and get paid much better for a couple months. The first of which we're going to talk about is Dylan Beavers and Seymour Basallo in Baltimore. Let's start with Basallo, who is number 8 on Itch's last prospect rankings update in AAA this year. 76 games, 23 home runs, 49 runs, 67 RBIs. He hit 270, 344, 589 with a 23.7% strikeout rate and a 13.7% walk rate. He has been starting at DH. He is a big power bat. What are your thoughts here?
I look at his numbers and I kind of see Junior Camerino, the Rays guy, the Rays young hitter. It's a very similar numbers. He looks to me like power, average, not really much speed, but could potentially chuck in like, a Josh Naylor 25 steals. Now, Josh Naylor is the outlier. I mean, maybe he could chuck in like a handful of steals, but he definitely, he has power. He's so young. That's why I brought up Junior Rays guy, because they're both so young that I think the power is just going to be probably, the best case scenario, and most, I think the arc that you want to see, even though this year has been a lost year for Yordan Alvarez, but that's kind of what I expect from these guys. Perennial 40 homer, 280 hitter. I would guess that, I would assume that he's going to be DHing most days and maybe gets some catcher. Hopefully he gets enough catcher games behind the plate in order to in order to keep catcher eligibility for next year. So but I would imagine with like Adelaide is not he's not going to just get moved off of catcher. So I would assume this guy gets moved off the catcher. Basallo. I would say likely looking at for this year, I don't know. It's like it's so fluky what rookies can do when they get called up. It's anywhere from like nothing to maybe 7 to 10 homers, possibly if he gets hot. But I would guess like somewhere in a handful of homers and a 250 average. Probably replaceable in most leagues, but I think worth the upside in order to see what happens. Like, why not? Like, people were asking Ivan Pereira or Basallo in shallow leagues, of course. And I would say Basallo just for the upside. Why not? It's not like Herrera is going to do anything that amazing. So yeah, try Basallo. I would guess for next year, I don't know, maybe 22 to 25 homer projections, around 260 to 270, kind of exactly what Junior Camerino did. So very similar. And then from there, he's so young at this point, he doesn't turn 22 until next August. He just turned 21, literally like within a week he turned 21. So yeah, I would guess like, in 2 years time, you're looking at what Junior Camerino is doing now. Like you're basically, add 10 more homers, add a little bit more on average kind of thing. So I would say 22 to 25 homers, 260 to 270 next year. Following year, maybe, well, there's going to be a strike supposedly, but if there's no strike, 35 homers, maybe 280 plus average kind of thing. Hopefully he keeps his catcher eligibility throughout like all these, early years when he's so young and, excellent. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much within the realm of possibility. I think something along the lines of like, I know it's gonna sound like a big difference, but like Andy Pajes or like James Wood, like somewhere in that range of outcomes for next year seems like the right area. Obviously those two are a little bit farther apart on the player rater, but I mean, kind of looking at the numbers, it's really a runs RBIs thing just because the Dodgers are completely stacked. So yeah, I agree. I would pick up Basallo everywhere. Just, I mean, catcher eligibility, and he should be pretty much playing every day, and he's really good. So yeah, absolutely grab him up if he's available. Let's talk about Dylan Beavers. When we're talking about Basallo, he was like a top 10 prospect. Beavers is more somewhere in the top 100 range. AAA this year in 94 games. He had 18 home runs, 23 stolen bases, 78 runs, 51 RBI. He had 304, 420, 515. He had an 18% strikeout rate and a 16% walk rate. He's starting in one of the corner outfields pretty much, day by day. What are your thoughts on Beavers? Also picking him up pretty much everywhere?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I picked up Beavers in my RCL, the league I'm in with you, where I think we're battling for 8th place. I picked him up there, and but I would pick, and that's a 12-team mixed league, so it's a pretty shallow league. I would pick him up anywhere though, just for upside reasons alone. Like usually you have probably in a 5 outfielder league, you probably have at least a 5th outfielder who is like a little bit iffy, unless your team's really stacked. But you probably have a last hitter on your team who's a little bit iffy. So yeah, why not take a flyer on Beavers? I think he's likely less than Basallo in the long term, but short term wise, he can actually be better because he has power and speed, and may not kill you in average. I think the average could be a little bit iffy potentially. He does. He hit 304 in the minors, as you mentioned, but this year, but he's had some struggles with average as he's coming up through the minor leagues. So I kind of wonder if he's going to be 12-team mixed league worthy, like big picture wise. I mean, maybe with the power and speed, but he looks a little bit iffy to me for shallower leagues. And this is for big picture. I'm talking for like his career, at least for like next year. I see him as probably a 5th outfielder coming out of 12-team mixed league drafts next year. Maybe a little bit higher depending on how this cup of coffee goes. Like if he's a solid, 6 weeks, if we see a solid 6 weeks from him, he can move up maybe to 4th outfielder in a 12-team mixed league. But probably next year, you're looking at a last round type flyer for a 12-team mixed league. I don't see him in the same light as I see Basallo. Like you mentioned, Basallo is like one of the top bats in the minor leagues. Beavers, I don't think anyone would say Beavers is that. But Beavers could be decent. The speed and power can go a long way. So yeah, I would grab him in every league for now to see if he can, get a couple homers and steal a couple bags and, keep his average, above like 230, 240, which would, if he can do that, he's probably worthwhile in any league. But yeah, he's got a little bit more iffiness to him than Basallo.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think the hit tools, in the same realm as Basallo. I do think the power speed could play up, and he has struggled with average at different points, but the on base has always been solid. So I think even if the average isn't there. He can maintain some value with the on base, but neither of the power or speed tools is extremely loud. Like they're both good, but not like standout. So yeah, I see where you're coming from. Something like, I don't know, Cedric Mullins like this year. Kind of in the teens of home runs and stolen bases. Average kind of fluctuates with if they're hot or not. Maybe in that range, but I would still grab him up for this season. Just he's been hitting well, and you can just kind of run with that power speed combo and see what's happening. If if you got an outfield spot that's been kind of streaming all year or something, just plug in one of these rookies and see if it sticks.
Yeah, I don't think the other guy in the Orioles organization who's already up and had a decent year last year, Colton Cowser, is probably not too far off from like Dylan Beavers' like ceiling, maybe. Like what we got from him last year. Obviously, Colton Cowser wasn't that great this year. Had some injuries, blah blah blah. Maybe Cedane Rafaela.
Yeah, that was the one I was looking at too.
Yeah, so fantasy wise, like him maybe. But yeah, I mean, not bad necessarily. Just probably in shallower leagues, there's going to be moments where you're like, do I really want the Beavers?
Yeah, I'd imagine there might be some struggles there, but like I said, he has walked at every level, so that helps. Versus some of those guys that you named are not particularly guys who take a walk; they're more free swingers. So at least he has those under control to some extent. I guess I like Dylan Beavers a little bit more than you do. I think he's probably more than a late round or like a last round flyer. I think he's probably in the teens somewhere, but we're just kind of maybe just arguing over league depth at this point. Let's move on to the next person who is called up by the Cubbies, Owen Caissie, AAA this year in 93 games, 22 home runs, 3 stolen bases. He hit 289, 389, 566. I saw him at the All-Star game, Gray. He looked great. Like he looked like he belonged on the field. He just very professional. He had good at-bats every time he came up to the plate. Unfortunately, though, it looks like he might be tabbed for a part-time role, as the Cubs outfield is actually pretty loaded right now.
Yeah, but fortunately for him, or unfortunately for the Cubs, Kyle Tucker retired at the end of June. So I think there might be an opening. I think. Oh, and Ian Happ retired in April. So
and Pete Armstrong the last month or so as well.
Yeah,
the outfield. As I'm saying this, I'm realizing they've all just been terrible. So
Seiya Suzuki was on the he was on the cover of the AARP in July. So it's they're all kind of retired.
We can add Willie Castro to that list, by the way. He's awful now too.
He's also,
I mean, he's never been great, but he's really awful now.
He's awful. Yeah, they got Justin Turner in the clubhouse, who's like, guys, look at me, man. Like, just coast. Just coast into the sunset. It's good. I think there was like, it's interesting how like baseball works, where it's like the Cubs were so ridiculously fortunate in the first half, and now they're so ridiculously like they're somewhere in between. Like they weren't as good as they were in the first half, and they're not this bad either. Anyway, that's more of a Cubs thing. Owen Caissie, right? I heard, right before we got on this podcast, Craig Counsell was saying, this is jokes aside, he was saying Kyle Tucker is going to take a couple days off to clear his head. So Owen Caissie may have some short-term value there, potentially. I imagine they're going to try and work him in a little bit, but you're right, his playing time is not as assured as the Orioles we were talking about. So there is that. I would probably make that a, Owen Caissie probably becomes a shallow league daily lineup guy, if that's the case. So you move him in your lineup when he's in the lineup. Yeah. So with that said, he looks like I don't know. I don't, you might know more about him than I do because of the, it sounds like you went and stalked him a little bit over the All-Star game break.
If I could have stalked him, great. If I had that technology, I might have. But no, he was great in the futures game. I had actually pretty good seats for that. So
okay,
yeah.
All right, well, it sounds like a fun time. So yeah, I think
I saw it once. That's not great, but hey, it's more than I normally see prospects.
Okay, well there you go. We sent out our scout, B Don. Okay, so it looks like he's in a struggle for a batting average. Like his K percentage was pretty high in the minor leagues, 28.2% in AAA. That could translate to over 32, which is going to be in the majors, and that's going to drag down his average. You would assume, at least, barring a high fluky Babbitt, I would guess he's probably going to hit for 225 or lower potentially, but he does have power. Looks like he's got some speed. In general, I do like the Cubs lineup. Obviously, that right now it sounds a little ridiculous to say that, but I mean in general. So if he does get playing time, if I were counsel, I would put him in every day over Ian Happ. Jokes aside, at some point Tucker's going to come back, and he's going to be good again. I would bench Ian Happ indefinitely, but that's not going to happen. So you got to play around with matchups a little bit with him. He's not going to play every day. He's a lefty, so he's clearly not going to face lefties. Hopefully he faces righties. And if he does, I would put him in any fantasy team, really, like 12-team mixed and deeper. I feel like he has a place there. He's probably closer to a 15-team mixed league and deeper guy, but I would try him for the upside alone in a shallower league. Why not? Yeah, assuming you have a dead spot in your lineup where you can try him, but I do think he's in a struggle for average.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Caissie. I do like him, as you said, in a daily league. I think the average should be fine after some struggles early on. I mean, he's had a pretty solid hit tool, but the strikeouts have been high, so we'll see, because that does not usually translate well to average at the major league level, unfortunately. Let's move on to Nolan McLean, who was called up by the Mets. AAA this year at 113 and 2/3 innings. He has a 2.45 ERA, a 1.13 WHIP, 27% strikeout rate, and a 10.7% walk rate. 96 mile an hour fastball, sinker, slider, curve, maybe a occasional cutter, changeup. He did throw 109 and 2/3 last year, so there's still at least a few innings left here, Gray. Again, kind of in that top 100 prospect area. Owen Caissie was at least a top 100 and maybe up to a top 50, depending on who you're talking to. So moving to the around top 100, but for fantasy purposes, pitching prospects always get pushed down unless they are just, Paul Skeens level type guys.
Right. Yeah. There's no such thing as a pitching prospect, as they say.
The old 10 step.
Yeah, 10 step. I think I was looking at McLean. McLean.
I mean, it just feels like McLean. I just went to that because it's New York and it just feels right. But hey, I could be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, neither of us are wearing a kilt, so don't kilt us. I mean, he looks to me like a solid flyer for like every league where you need pitching. I like him. I think. There's always potential with rookie pitchers that it's like it could go sideways real easy. Like Zebby Matthews has looked good for like 3 years now. I don't know when that's going to happen. So, it's hard to say what you're going to get. The rookie pitchers are a lot more risky than, vets. Like if you're like worried about like blow ups, go with Michael Wacha. But I like McLean. I mean, his numbers look pretty solid. It looks like he could struggle a little bit with command, which makes the iffiness, the riskiness a little bit higher with him than maybe some other pitchers. And he was not able to command his pitches that well on Sunday. Was it Sunday? Yeah, I believe it was Sunday, his first start. So, or was it Saturday? Maybe it was Saturday. Anyway, yeah, it was Saturday. Yeah, I think he's definitely someone who's, I'm interested for sure. I wouldn't drop anyone that good, but at this point, everyone must have at least a little bit of room to play around with the rookie starter. I mean, I know I have space on all my teams where I could like try him. I wouldn't fall in love if he has a bad outing next time out. I could see dropping him, but I would definitely try him. I think the risk is a little bit high because of the command, as I mentioned. And his stuff looks good for strikeouts. So yeah, I mean, it's like, it's a flyer at this point. For next year, if he has a spot in the Mets rotation, I feel like I might be higher on him than, let's see, Caissie and Beavers, maybe. I don't know. To be determined, but in the general ballpark, so to speak.
Yeah, kind of apples to oranges there with that. But yeah, I mean, in his first start, eight strikeouts, 4 walks, no earned in 5 1/3. I mean, that feels kind of like a line you're going to see. Just high strikeouts, high walks, and does he get hit? I don't know. It was kind of Carlos Marmol-esque, just really good stuff, but no idea where it's going at this point. So I think if you're chasing strikeouts, if you're looking at potentially ERA, I'd be okay with starting him, but the whip may struggle. And, being a young pitcher with potentially limited innings, you never know if they're going to give him the full 5 or 5+ if he's not efficient with that many walks. Let's talk about Jacob Melton, who was brought up by the Astros, AAA this year, 24 games, 3 home runs, 6 stolen bases. He hit 273. 369, 511. He had a 23% strikeout rate and a 13.5% walk rate. In Double A and Triple A, because this is very small samples this year in the minors, he had 105 games, 15 home runs, 30 stolen bases, and he had 253 last year. Again, we're in the top 100-ish range for him. What do you think about Jacob Melton?
Any relation to Troy Melton?
I actually don't know, Greg. That's a good question, but Troy Melton's been pretty solid.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah. So I think Jacob Melton, for me, is a little bit. It depends on how he's used, right? Because the Astros, I mean, supposedly. But now supposed Yordan Alvarez isn't that far away. I know Yordan Alvarez. He attempted to join the circus back in April, and it went well for a couple months, but he's since been kicked out of that, and now he's trying a baseball rehab stint. So at some point he's going to return, you would think. So that's going to cloud up. That's going to cloud up his playing time, Jacob Melton's, that is. He looks like he's potentially the highest steals guy that maybe we've seen so far out of the call-ups that we've talked about, at least. I think, not necessarily 60 grade speed, but close. I mean, he had a year where he stole 46 bags in the minors. In the minors, a lot of times the catcher won't even throw down a second. So, take it with a grain of salt, but he does seem like he has speed. and he's already stolen 3 bags in the major leagues in only 17 games. So with the Astros. So there's definitely speed here. I don't know if there's a ton else. Like right now, he's striking out a 41% strikeout rate. He seems kind of lost. I don't know how long the Astros stick with him, really, even in a strong side of a platoon. Like I mentioned, Jordan supposedly is going to return at some point. So I see him more as like Melton. I see more as like a steals guy at this point until maybe he becomes more, but I don't see a ton more. So if you're in a 15-team mixed league or deeper, I could see trying him for steals, but I don't think he's on a 12-team mixed league radar as of right now.
Yeah, I would agree. It's there's just not enough hit tool there, and even when he's playing, he's hitting 8th or 9th. So there's just not enough here unless you're strictly chasing steals on like a short day. That'd be the only scenario I can think of in a shallow league where you would run him out there. But he is very fast, so he could potentially just pinch hit and get you a stolen base, and that would be probably the best way about going about it. Moving on to the Brewers, who called up Tyler Black in AAA this year. He had 37 games where he had 2 home runs, 10 stolen bases. He hit 107 or 187, 308, 284. He had a 29.6% strikeout and a 14.5% walk rate. As I mentioned, only 37 games. He had a broken hamate bone in his hand this year. Last year, though, he went 18 home runs, 55 stolen bases with hitting 284 with a sub 20 percentage and a 15.8% walk rate. So not better numbers last year. What are your thoughts on Tyler Black?
My thoughts on him. Well, first of all, I think he's already been optioned back to the minors from the latest reports. So I think it's probably a moot point. But I think he's illustrative of like guys who come up with some hype and then just vanish into thin air or just never really get a strong opportunity. Maybe, I don't know. It's weird because he looked really interesting. What was it, like 2 years ago? He looked really good. Maybe 2024. I mean, he looked really good at one point, and then it was just like, I don't know. I guess the injury sort of sidelined him this year. So I don't know. Baseball's a tough sport, man. I don't know, but he seems like he's been optioned back down. So I think he's irrelevant for our purposes.
All right, I do see in the news today that he was optioned today. So apologies for bringing him up, but it is an interesting guy, at least by the numbers. As you mentioned in 2023, he had that very big year of 18 and 55, went 14-20 last year in AAA, and then, as I said, only played limited games this year. Again, I think he's kind of in the Melton conversation if he gets called back up, though. He's just a speed merchant. That's what you're hoping for. Moving on to Kyle Karros, who was called up by the Rockies in 75 games this year. He had 6 home runs and 7 stolen bases. He had 301, 398, and 476. What are your thoughts on Kyle Karros? I might have gotten the steals number wrong as I'm looking at my numbers, but go ahead. Nope, I did not.
No, you were right. He kind of looks to me like a flyer for deeper leagues for when the Rockies are in cores and you need a stream bat or a potential for a weekend bat or something if they're if the Rockies are home. But yeah, I don't see a ton here for like he kind of his numbers read to me a little bit like for fantasy a little bit on the boring side, like a little bit kind of like maybe best case scenario is 12 homers, 12 steals, and 300 average, kind of like an Arise maybe, or a Stephen Kwan potentially. Like, it's not the most exciting numbers for fantasy, but if at home, maybe as a streamer, something there for any league. but for the most part, he's a deeper league guy.
Yeah, agreed on everything you said. So we'll just move on. A familiar name, Everson Pereira, was called up by the Rays alongside Bob Seymour. Pereira this year in 78 games between Tampa Bay and New York hit 21 home runs, 9 stolen bases, and hit 256. Seymour had 105 games where he had 30 home runs, 1 stolen base, and hit 263. Seems like Pereira is splitting time in the outfield because it's Tampa Bay and everybody splits time in the outfield. And then Bob Seymour seems to be starting at first base pretty regularly, though.
Yeah, well, Bob Seymour's got he's got the advantage of being a lefty, which is, it's an advantage and disadvantage. But when you're with the Rays, at least that means you're going to face righties. So there's that, and there's more righties. That is what I read on Wikipedia. So the fact that there's more righties and he's a lefty, that bodes well for him. Unfortunately, Everson Pereira is a righty. So, I mean, it's just ridiculous that this is what it amounts to, but this really is what it amounts to with Kevin Cash and the Rays. So Pereira is a righty, so that means he's going to sit versus righties. So that's not good. So it's Bob Seymour or bust here. Bob. Bob's such a fun name. Why don't you change your name to Bob? Bob Don. That's such a great name.
I should have just been Bob. That would have been a better name than Don, honestly.
Bob Don. I mean,
if I was Bob, I would have been so much more popular.
Oh my God. You would actually be too popular for this podcast. So thank you for not being Bob.
You're welcome. You'd actually have to, maybe pay me or something. I don't know.
Find someone else. And if I found someone else and they were like, what's the pay? I'd be like, well, let me find someone else again. Okay, so Bob Seymour, that is, not Bob Don. Bob Seymour looks like a power only guy who potentially could hit 210 or lower. I mean, he looks like he might struggle for hitting for a decent average, and he's got no real speed to speak of, but he does have big power, and the Rays are in a decent park. So I don't know, maybe if the matchups are right, and he's facing, a bunch of righties in a row, and it's like a 15-team mixed league or deeper, I could see I could see the flyer for sure. I just don't have huge hopes, long term for him. I mean, he's 26, about to turn 27. He doesn't really make good contact. So yeah, it's a flyer for power, if anything.
Yeah, it feels like the Rays are just if we just stick him at the bottom of the lineup, he'll either strike out, which leaves us Chandler Simpson without him in front of him, or he's going to hit a home run, which is, a good thing. So, sitting at the bottom of the Rays lineup does not really give a lot of faith when you're behind some guy named Hunter Fiducia. Not a great place to be, really, Gray, as far as a bat goes.
It says, I don't know what it means, but it says on my bank checks, fiduciary.
It's Tampa Bay Rays. You're getting paid by the Rays.
I actually have the Rays lineup. I have the bottom of the Rays lineup on my my checks. I don't know why. It's weird. I don't know.
Yeah, so we've already passed, even with these last couple, the land of top 100. We're down into the 2, 3, even 400 numbers, Gray. So these last two, I'm just going to run past you and see what you have. Nathan Church was called up by St. Louis, 13 home runs, 16 stolen bases. He hit 329. The numbers are interesting, so thought he deserved at least a podcast announcement. And then Ronny Simon was called up by the Pirates. He had 67 games where he had 8 home runs, 28 stolen bases, and hit 303. As I mentioned, both of them have pretty interesting numbers in the minors this year. But what are your thoughts here on these guys who are, a little bit of outliers in that they really aren't prospects that are ranked, at least for our purposes, but we're seeing them get called up and their service time manipulated nonetheless, Gray?
Yeah. So Victor Scott II, he hurt his ankle, went on to the IL. So Nathan Church could potentially have some NL only type fantasy value. He looks like a little bit of power, a little bit of speed, a little bit of average. Makes good contact at least. And by that I mean he doesn't miss the ball. It's not exactly the best contact. He makes a lot of contact. So he seems like an NL only flyer. Ronny Simon, actually, I saw R period Simon was playing for the Pirates, and they were in Milwaukee, and all I could think of was Randall Simon hitting the mascot over the head with the bat. I was like, I had a flashback to Randall Simon clocking the bratwurst over the head. Oh man, so good! It's so good, man. Anyway, Ronny Simon looks like he has speed, and he was actually Craig Mish, the Marlins beat writer, DM'd me when Ronny Simon first came up with the Marlins. Mish DM'd me and he was like, "You should pick up Ronny Simon. He's got good tools, good power, good speed, can hit for a decent average." And I was like, "Oh yeah, let's do it." And so I picked him up in Tout Wars, which is a 12-team NL only league. And then the next week after that, I dropped him. He's not so good on Mish for alerting me that Ronny Simon was getting called up, but yeah, I don't think there's much there outside of like you're struggling with NL only and you're looking for some speed. Like, honestly, I think Ronny Simon's probably more interesting than Nathan Church. So I would say Simon if you're really interested in like for NL only, where Church. Bless it. Bless it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ronny Simon's probably more interesting than everybody we talked about going back to like, I don't know, maybe him versus Jacob Melton is close, but like the rest of them, I mean, at least Simon's got speed. He takes a walk, strong side of the platoon, and he's leading off when he is playing. So there's things that are positive here on Ronny Simon, whereas it was a little stretch for some of the others. I'm being honest, Gray.
Yeah, it's true.
Let's SAGNOF it up, Gray. Let's talk some closers. Over in Houston, Hader done for the season. Who are you grabbing as his replacement? Do you think it's one person, or are we looking at a committee situation?
I kind of hope Josh. I think it's Brian Abreu. I would grab Brian Abreu in any league. I kind of hope, for my own selfish purposes, I kind of hope Josh Hader doesn't return for the playoffs, and he's discounted next year. Now his shoulders are iffy. It's not the best thing in the world that he has a sprained shoulder, but. Yeah, it would be nice to get Josh Hader at a discount next year. Anyway, Brian Abreu, I guess if it's a good team and there could be a bunch of saves there, so it's the best. It wouldn't be the worst thing to grab Bennett Sousa as a vulture too.
Yeah, I like both of them. They've both been really good. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to wait and hear what's going on with Hader, but I don't like shoulders, Gray. That's you might be alone in grabbing Hader.
I said at a discount, so it depends on the discount. Now, if Josh Hader is still going in the top 70, then no, that's not a good enough discount. I'm talking after top 100.
Okay. I might still be out there, but we'll have to see. Over in Dodgerland, Gray, is anybody a closer yet?
No,
do you feel Randy?
Not to keep going back to this Josh Hader thing. When he probably will be at his best for a discount will be early drafts and like the fall before the spring, because when you get to the spring and he's throwing 98 in spring training, he's not going to be a discount anymore. But I wouldn't be surprised if you get Josh Hader for a decent discount in super early drafts in like November, December. Anyway, did you say Dodgers?
I did say Dodgers, Gray. Is there anybody that you're ready
Uh,
to tab as a closer yet?
yeah,
Does
no,
it even
there's
matter because they either
there's no
beat teams
closer.
by 50 or lose?
No, there's no closer. The Dodgers don't have a closer. They do have Alex Vesia has been solid though. Well, you got to give him that. He's looked decent. Unfortunately, he's a lefty, and Dave Roberts can't really wrap his head around a lefty being the called upon closer every single time out. So Trinan is going to get a chance here and there. Kaspareus is going to get a chance here and there. I'm going to be shocked if Banda gets a chance. We're only like 2 weeks away from Alexis Diaz getting a chance. I mean, they're going to give everyone in that bullpen a chance. But Alex Vesia has actually been decent. So if you're struggling for saves, I don't hate having Alex Vesia on my team because he's been good no matter what. So maybe you get a vulture win here and there, maybe you get a save here and there, but he's not going to be the quote unquote closer.
Yeah, I think it's between the two lefties. I think it's Dreyer and it's Vesia, because the two guys that I think they want to randomly have it, which is Alexis Diaz and Blake Trinan, they're both terrible. So I think it's between Dreyer, Vesia, and Banda, but who knows? It could be anybody any given day. That's usually what we say about Colorado. But is Victor Vodnik the closer after a huge saves week, Gray? That helped nobody.
Victor Vodnik got he got 4 saves this week, right?
Yeah, 4 saves this week.
Yeah, I saw that.
There's no way anybody started him.
No, he was picked up in my 12-team NL only league this Sunday. And he was barely even like no one even bid on him. It was like 4 saves. Like that, people could have used those 4 saves in my league for sure. I could have used those 4 saves, but yeah, I couldn't. I wouldn't pick him up, man. I honestly, I can't do it. I just can't. He's got a near 5 walk per 9. Not enough Ks in order to offset that. It looks like he looks like potential disaster waiting to happen. And the Rockies just don't win enough games. So yeah, I wouldn't mess with Victor Vodnik, but go with him, man. If you're really desperate, I guess.
Yeah, and until any kind of forward movement happens on the gross teams that we talked about last week, Ray, I'm just not going to put them in the notes because I don't think we need to know who's saving for them because it's not worth anybody's time really. So let's just move on to the waiver wire and give people some bats.
Oh, okay. So there is Jacob Marcy has been like the best bat over the last, I want to say 30 days, but it looks like on the 7-day player rater at Rasball.com, he is not at 100% yet. So I'm talking about him. Here he is, Jacob Marcy, another guy who's been hot, who looks like he's available in 100% of the leagues is Colby Thomas. Another guy is Paul DeJong, Colonel Mustard, Sal Frelick, Ben Rice, Miles Straw, Miguel Andujar, Dylan Carlson. Wow, there's a name. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. I do like him. Dalton Varsho, Jerickson Profar, Giancarlo Stanton. I think he's already injured himself after 3 games in the outfield, but yeah, there's Giancarlo Stanton. Tyler Freeman, Alejandro Kirk, and Jake McCarthy. So there's some names for you to pick up off of waivers.
Yeah, it only took me finally giving up on Lourdes Gurriel after holding him for 4 months for him to finally be solid again, Gray. It's really well timed.
I know, man.
Streamers, Gray. Let's talk about some streamers. Michael Wacha is a 2-stepper versus Texas at Detroit. Don't love the matchups, but Wacha's been really solid. Max Scherzer at Pittsburgh. Brady Singer at the Angels. Aaron Savale at Atlanta. Sandy Alcantara versus St. Louis, Tanner Beebe at Arizona, Jose Quintana versus San Francisco, Jason Alexander at Baltimore, and Jack Leiter at Kansas City. There are some streaming pictures for you. If you have any specific questions for us, you can come find us on Twitter at RazBeaton. You can find Gray at the @Razball account. You can find us on youtube.com/RazballFantasy if you want to watch us, our pretty faces out there, or leave comments there. And you can always find us on the comment section of Razball.com as well. May your lineups be perfect, and may you win all your matchups as we enter this crucial time of the season, Gray. I will talk to you later.
All right, later, Bob Don.